When I Fall by Scarlet Emerald 32. Chapter 28.
Hey Dana, Maggie told me she wants me to... Oh, you are not Dana.
Talissa stopped in the doorway of the medical trailer as the stranger who'd come in with Daryl and the others looked up at her. Now that she got a look at him, she noted that he was handsome, with a strong nose and cheekbones, and light brown eyes which stood out strikingly against his copper skin and black hair.
Sadiq, right?
She stepped inside and let the door close behind her.
Yeah, and you're... Talissa? I heard Maggie talking to you earlier.
Yep. So what are you doing in here, besides hiding?
I was a second-year resident before everything. Thought I'd help out where I can. And what makes you think I'm hiding?
Well, are you?
She hopped up to sit on the exam table.
I guess maybe I am. Kinda surprised you're even talking to me.
Why wouldn't I talk to you?
Well, you seem pretty tight with the Alexandrians. And it's pretty widely known I'm the reason Carl is dead.
Oh yeah? Did you bite him?
Sadiq looked up at her in surprise, and the corner of his mouth twitched slightly, but then his brow furrowed again as he continued to put gauze in the cabinet in front of him.
He got bit helping me. It's pretty much the same thing.
It's really not. People die in hundreds of senseless and horrible ways every day. Helping someone isn't one of them. Carl was a good kid. Going out helping someone else is exactly the way he would have wanted to.
He didn't want to go at all.
No, I'm guessing he probably didn't. But we don't always get what we want. Believe me, I know that all too well. Still doesn't make it your fault.
Sadiq looked up at her again with the ghost of a smile.
Thanks. Not sure I believe you, but it's nice of you to say it.
Well, I'm a very nice person.
He smirked again.
So residency, huh? What kind?
ER.
Damn, so you were in the thick of it, huh? Which hospital?
GDU.
Oh god, that place was crazy. I did 2 months there in my psych rotation, and that was enough for me.
Sadiq shot her a curious look.
You're a doctor?
I'm a psychiatrist. Well, I was a psychiatrist. Haven't seen a patient in over a month. Now that I think about it, all my patients are dead except one. Talk about a depressing thought.
Were you from here, before everything started with Negan?
Nope. I was from Alexandria. I was actually there before Rick and his people. I'm an OG.
Damn, that sucks.
Yeah, it really does. But not much to do, but keep moving forward, you know?
I do.
So, Maggie said I had to come in here and let Dana look at my ankle. I tweaked it jumping off a truck last night, and I keep telling her that it's fine. But she wants me to get a clean bill of health anyway. Her care and concern is so annoying.
Sadiq chuckled appreciatively.
You think you could check it out for me and tell her she's worrying about nothing, Mr. Resident?
I'd be happy to.
10 minutes later, Talissa walked out of the med trailer with a clean bill of health and a self-satisfied smile. She headed back to the main road and she noticed something out of the ordinary. Rosita, Maggie, Enid, and Michonne, who'd arrived a few hours earlier, were standing by one of the SUVs just inside the gates. She walked over to them and noticed Rosita holding a piece of paper.
What's up?
There was a crate about 100 yards outside the gate with balloons tied to it. I went out and got it.
So, what? Another savior trap?
I don't think so. Listen to this. If you fill the crates with food or phonograph records, I will gladly exchange them for the key to your future. And there's coordinates for a meeting place at the bottom.
They all looked around at each other in confusion.
This isn't the saviors. They blow through the gates. Make a big show. This isn't that.
I wouldn't put nothing past them.
I mean, if it is a trap, it's kind of obvious.
Which is exactly what could make it a trap.
What if it's someone who actually wants to help us?
Maggie sighed and put her hands on her hips, looking down at the box again.
If it's someone who wants to help us and we miss out, we miss out. If it's someone who's trying to kill us, we die.
Not if we're careful.
Being careful is staying here.
I'll go. I'll see what's up.
If you go, I go.
Me too.
Michonne gave them both a half-exasperated, half-affectionate glare.
Rick wants us to stay here.
I know.
Michonne shook her head, taking a deep breath before she spoke again.
But last time we took a chance like this, it changed everything.
She met Talissa's gaze with a meaningful look, and Talissa felt tears in her eyes as she nodded in understanding.
Rick didn't agree with me then, and he may not understand now, but eventually he will.
Maggie looked at her for a long moment and then sighed and nodded.
Jesus and the others have been out scavenging, but we're still starving. Maybe this person does have something that can help.
I'm coming with you.
Maggie nodded again.
All right, I'll grab records in case this is real. You grab extra clips in case it isn't.
So what's your gut tell you?
Talissa asked quietly from her spot sitting on a log next to Rosita.
That this is really freaking weird.
Well, yeah, that's a given. But do you think it's a trap?
Dunno. They don't look like saviors. I haven't seen them before.
The two women were hidden in the foliage on the side of the road about 40 feet away from a van that was parked across the road. Two thin, wiry women carrying rifles stood in front of it, but no one had come out.
Guess we're about to find out.
The SUV she knew carried Maggie, Michonne, and Enid, pulled slowly up to the van, and the three women got out. As they approached, the two unknown women stepped back, and the side doors of the van finally opened. A woman who Talissa would have put in her mid-60s, with short bleach blonde hair and a pale peach pantsuit stepped out.
What in the Hillary Rodham Clinton?
She heard Rosita give a small snort of laughter behind her. The woman raised her hands in welcome and smiled at Maggie, Enid, and Michonne.
Hello, my name is Georgie. These are my friends, Hilda and Midge. And you're
She looked at their confused, wary faces and smiled slightly.
suspicious, but curious enough to see what I have to offer for food and music. I do hope the records are music. I don't accept spoken word.
Maggie, Michonne, and Enid continued to stare at her in confusion, and she gave them an understanding smile as she took a tentative step towards them.
Look, if you're out here, you know how to take care of yourselves, and I like that. I don't share this information with the weak.
Good.
Maggie nodded in Talissa's direction. On her signal, Talissa and Rosita, who'd snuck around to the other side of the van, walked out with their weapons raised on either side of the newcomers. Georgie's eyes widened slightly, but her demeanor stayed calm. Rosita took the gun from the women on the left, and Talissa from the women on the right. She moved to Georgie, who raised her hands calmly.
None for me.
Talissa patted her down quickly to make sure she was telling the truth, as Maggie leveled her gun at her.
All right, now give us what you have.
I'm afraid I can't do that. I come bearing knowledge to trade. Essential knowledge for the future, primarily in my head, and prefer to keep that where it is.
You're trading knowledge?
That's what I have. I've made the same offer before. Fill the crates, get the knowledge. It's as simple as that. It's not a trick. It's fair trade, I promise you. It's an act of benevolence.
Why would you do that?
Georgie looked at Enid sympathetically and gave another small shrug.
What else should I do?
Maggie looked at her for a long moment and then turned her attention to Talissa and Rosita. She nodded towards the van, and they both walked over to look inside.
What's in there isn't part of the deal.
There is no deal.
Rosita and Talissa looked inside and saw crate upon crate of produce, canned goods, and even powdered milk. Rosita looked back at Maggie and nodded.
How many communities have you found? Like ours?
Communities like yours, not many at all, and none for a very long time. What you have is special. The dead have brought out the best and the worst in us, and the worst has been outpacing the best lately, but that won't last forever. If, perhaps, people can believe in people again. 4 crates of goods is worth far less than a sustainable future. And perhaps and exercise in trust. I know trust must seem like a made-up word now, like Flaubersticky.
Or plum.
One of the other women said with a smirk.
Or moisture.
Said the third. Rosita raised a questioning eyebrow, but she let it go.
Stop. This isn't real. No way anyone survives going around doing what you say you're doing.
But we do. And we will, because I can divine that you are a fine group, manners notwithstanding.
We can make a deal.
Michonne offered, but Maggie cut her off.
No, these people in their van are coming with us back to Hilltop.
The handoff horn started up, but no confirmation hits. Saviors could have slowed their roll. I say let them. We'll slow them down even more.
Maggie smiled at Jerry appreciatively.
That's good. It's gonna be dark soon. Get people ready. You know what to do.
Jerry nodded and walked towards the door, but stopped quickly on his way out and leaned over to Talissa.
Yo, next time you take off, give us a heads up, okay? Nabila was freaking out.
Sorry, I'm not used to having so many people caring about where I go.
Yeah, I'm sure it's real hard work being one of the popular kids.
She gave him a playful punch in the shoulder as he left.
I see you're settling in with the kingdom people pretty easily.
Yeah, they're a good bunch. They make it easy. But don't worry, I still know who my family is.
Michonne gave her an appreciative smile before turning back to the window and looking down into the yard outside.
We should make the deal and let them go before the saviors get here.
I can't let her go. Not with what they have. They've got a lot of food in that van, and people here could be starving soon.
Maggie's right. We take their stuff. Otherwise, someone else will. Someone else will kill them. It's a miracle they're still alive anyway.
So that's who you want to be now? Prey on the weak, because they can't help themselves. And justify it by saying someone else would treat them worse?
The saviors are on their way. We're gonna fight and some of us are gonna die, so why should we give a shit about people who don't give a shit about themselves? I mean, out there living like that?
She crossed her arms and sighed in frustration.
Look, this is how it is now. We take their stuff and we use it and we stop pretending that things just work out, because they don't.
Carl saved Sadiq, and look how that worked out now. We have a doctor and a friend. Carl was brave.
Enid took a deep breath and walked up to Michonne so they were almost nose to nose.
Yeah, he was. And now, he's dead.
Michonne set her jaw and looked down at Enid stonily.
Step back.
Tears filled Enid's eyes as she held her gaze for one more furious second, before turning on her heel and storming out of the office. Talissa and Michonne watched her go, and Talissa could see the tears in Michonne's eyes as well. She wanted to reach out and comfort her, but she had a feeling it wasn't the moment. From behind them, Maggie stood and spoke softly.
Michonne, things don't just work out.
No, they don't.
She turned now to face Maggie, and a tear slipped down her cheek as she spoke.
But I think he knew that. He didn't give up on who Rick wanted him to be. And we can't give up on who he wanted us to be either. We can't.
Michonne gave Maggie's hand a squeeze and then walked out of the office. Maggie slumped into her chair and put her face in her hands.
I can't do this. I can't have the fate of all these people on my shoulders and the weight of right and wrong and life and death. It's too much.
I know.
Talissa stood and walked over, taking her hands. Maggie looked up at her with tears in her eyes.
You said your dad was religious, right? So do you know the one about the sparrows?
Maggie smiled.
Therefore I say unto you, be not anxious for your life, what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink, nor yet for your body, what ye shall put on. Is not the life more than the food, and the body than the raiment? Behold the sparrows of the heaven, that they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns, and your heavenly Father feedeth them. Are not ye of much more value than they? And which of you by being anxious can add 1 cubit unto the measure of his life? It's in Matthew. One of my daddy's favorites, actually.
I don't know if I believe God still exists. But what I do believe with all my heart is that something, God, fate, the universe, whatever, something good still exists in this world. And if we can't step out in faith every once in a while and believe that if we put good out into the world, we'll get good back, then I don't know what the hell we're doing here.
Maggie sighed and closed her eyes. She wiped away a tear that rolled down her cheek and nodded.
You're right. I know you are.
She stood up and pulled Talissa into a hug.
Thank you.
10 minutes later, Maggie came down the steps outside with a large crate of records.
No spoken word?
I'm agreeing to your deal. We'll fill your crates and you can go. You're going to want that to be sooner than later.
I agree, but I'm changing the terms.
She put a hand on the crate.
This one, no more. And in addition, you can have a sizable portion of my food stores. From the looks of things around here, you need it more than we do.
Maggie looked at her in shock, and then back at Talissa. Talissa felt the lump rising in her throat as she gave Maggie a slight shrug and a smile.
You're giving us food? For what?
In exchange for records and good faith. To be clear, this isn't a gift. It's a barter. I'll be back. Maybe not for a while, but I will. And I expect great things.
She turned to her van and pulled out a thick paper book bound with twine and put it in Maggie's hands.
Here, the aforementioned key to the future.
Maggie flipped it open and Talissa almost gasped at its contents.
Those are handwritten plans for windmills, water mills, silos, hand-drawn schematics, guides to refine grain, creating lumber, aqueducts, a book of medieval human achievement, so we may have a future from our past.
Talissa looked up at Georgie in awe.
This is incredible.
Thank you.
Build this place up. I want those crates filled when I get back. Cheeses for Hilda, pickles for Midge.
Maggie smiled.
We'll see what we can do.
Oh, I know you will.
Georgie gave them a smile and a nod, and she and her people got back in her van.
It's a future, more of a future than I've been able to imagine in a while.
Talissa said as they watched the van pull out of the gates.
It is, but we have to get through tonight if we want to see it. Everyone in place?
Maggie asked as Diane stepped out onto the balcony where Maggie and Talissa stood.
Ready and waiting your command.
All right then, now we wait.
She and Talissa looked out over the darkened grounds.
You sure you're ready for this?
I haven't been ready for anything that's happened over the last few weeks. It didn't stop it from happening. I'm getting through it. That's the best I can do. Besides, he won't be here tonight. The only reason he came to Alexandria was because he wanted us to surrender. He's not interested in being part of the fighting.
What if you're wrong?
Then I'm probably going to see the man I love die tonight. And I've made my peace with that. As much as I can, I guess.
Gotta admit, when Georgie first handed me those plans this afternoon, first thing I thought was how much he would have loved them.
Yeah, me too.
The two of them stood there, staring out into the darkness for several minutes before Maggie spoke again.
You know how you told me earlier that we needed to believe in something? Have faith?
Yeah.
Well, for me, there's only ever been one thing I could believe in since the minute that bat came down on Glenn's head, and that's that Negan needs to die. That's it. And I'm going to do whatever I need to make it happen.
From down by the fence line, Jerry stood up and motioned to them. They saw the approach of headlights down the road, and Maggie sighed.
Here we go.
After a few more seconds, they heard the distinct sound of popping tires and squealing brakes.
Looks like our homemade spike strips worked like a charm.
She looked over at Maggie, who picked up the walkie-talkie Talissa had brought with her from the kingdom and held it to her mouth.
You ready?
Maggie nodded as she clicked it on.
Negan, I want to talk to Negan.
After a few seconds, the walkie crackled as the response came through.
You are speaking to Negan, but my birth certificate says Simon. With whom do I have the distinct displeasure of speaking?
Maggie Ree, the widow.
Well then, hello again, Widow Ree. Allow me to offer my condolences for what happened, and for what's about to happen. In case it's not plain as Hilltop potatoes, yours truly is speaking on behalf of Negan this go-round. And I assure you that the man himself personally received your care package next day delivery. Noticed it was in that box I gave you in good faith too. Tricks on me, I guess. But the bills come due, and you people are going to have to pay. Quite dearly, I'm afraid.
Maggie turned to Talissa with a nod, and she walked back to the balcony and stuck her head into the room beyond.
Okay, Diane, bring them out.
She saw the shadowy figures walking through the darkened room towards the balcony.
Your people are alive and breathing, all 38 of them. Turn around and leave us be, and they stay that way. But if you don't, I have 38 bullets that I will personally fire into each of them.
She turned and handed the walkie to Alden, one of the saviors that Talissa knew had been trying the hardest to earn her trust.
Too nice a night to spend it dying slow, huh, Simon?
The seconds ticked by, and Simon didn't answer. Talissa looked over at Maggie nervously, unsure of how it would play out, but Maggie simply stared out at the cars beyond the fence. Finally, she spoke into the walkie again.
So how's this going to go?
Well, Maggie Ree, this is highly regrettable. But the way I see it, the saviors you are in possession of, they're damaged goods. They got themselves into their own pickle, and this organization prides itself on those who, A, avoid capture, and B, figure out their own shit when said outcome eventuates, which, in the end, is my way of saying, screw them.
The walkie clicked off, and Gregory, who had made his way out onto the balcony, looked over at Maggie with a condescending huff.
Did you really think that cockamamie play would work?
It will.
They heard the opening and closing of doors as the saviors got out of their vehicles and headed for the gates. After a few more seconds, Talissa heard it, the sound of a motorcycle in the distance.
Here he comes.
And here we go.
Machine gun fire sounded below as Daryl came flying up the road just outside, mowing down the saviors in the front of the group. People below ran to open the gate and let him in. One of the saviors' trucks lurched forward, speeding through the gate behind him before they could shut it again. As it did, a bus flew into its path. It smashed into the side and crumpled, blocking the gate. As the saviors began to run in around it, all the members of the Hilltop, Alexandria, and the Kingdom jumped up and opened fire. The saviors dove for cover and fired back as an all-out battle began.
Down!
Talissa and Maggie just had time to duck as a volley of arrows punched into the side of the house around them.
Maggie, we need to get inside.
Take the prisoners to my office and hold them there until it's done.
Alden grabbed her arm, looking at her desperately.
Maggie, let me help you defend this place, please. You think I got a reason to be loyal to those people?
Maggie didn't answer, and Diane dragged him inside with the others.
Maggie, come on.
Where the hell is it?
Maggie was still searching the smoky grounds. Talissa grabbed her by the arm and pulled her inside.
You can't kill him if you get shot. We have to be ready for phase 2.
Maggie nodded and aimed her gun at the lone light bulb on the balcony to light out. The shooting outside doubled in volume as they ran for the stairs and down to the second floor. Talissa leaned carefully to look out one of the now broken windows, and then back at Maggie.
Rick and the others are inside. It's time.
She and Maggie took aim at the headlights of the vehicles in the compound, taking each one out systematically until the entire yard was plunged into darkness. Talissa sat as still as she could, watching for any movement. As the ringing of the gunfire faded, an eerie calm fell over everything. The only sounds left was the rhythmic chirping of crickets. Talissa jumped violently as someone put a hand on her shoulder.
It's okay. It's me.
Daryl materialized out of the darkness beside her and rested his rifle against the edge of the window.
Everybody okay out there?
Mostly. Tobin took a knife to the chest, but he was alive when I saw him. Dwight clipped Tara, but I don't think it's serious.
Dwight? He's back with them?
Yeah,
She should have killed him when she had the chance.
you're telling me.
Maggie raised her hand in signal, and after another second she dropped it. Floodlights came on, bathing the saviors who were sneaking towards the house in light, as those in the house opened fire on them. Only Dwight and Simon managed to get away, running back towards their cars. Maggie jumped up and ran from the room, and Daryl and Talissa were right behind her. By the time they caught up, she was standing at the gate, watching the taillights of their car disappearing down the road. Talissa turned back in frustration and saw that Sadiq was kneeling on the ground a little bit away, with his hands over Tobin's chest.
Hey, how is he?
Bleeding's pretty bad. I need to get him to the infirmary.
Talissa knelt down and put one of Tobin's arms over hers, helping Sadiq carry him across the road to the infirmary trailer. When they went inside, Tara was already sitting there as Dana put stitches in her arm.
Holy shit, what happened to him?
He got stabbed. What happened to you?
Got shot, but it barely grazed me.
All right, you're all done. Sadiq, get a bandage on her while I start on him.
Dana and Sadiq traded off patients, and Tara looked over at Talissa.
So did we win?
Yeah, we won, but Simon and Dwight got away.
Damn it. Well, at least they can go back and tell that asshole we handed them their asses. You know, I gotta say, I didn't have you and I sleeping together on my bingo card.
Tara looked over at Talissa lying next to her.
Oh, shut up. After everything that went down, Maggie wants to keep everyone as close together as possible. Be thankful we actually got a room and we aren't sleeping in the middle of the entrance hall like all the people from the kingdom.
Yeah, perks of being friends with the boss lady, I guess.
From the end of the bed, Judith began to whimper softly. Talissa got up and went to the crib she was sleeping in, gently rubbing her back until she fell back to sleep. She looked over to where Rosita was sitting in a wooden chair by the window with her feet propped on the sill.
You need some sleep too, Rosita. I know the bed's not big enough for the three of us, but we can take it in turns. I don't mind keeping watch for a little while. You were out there all day helping with the cleanup and burying bodies.
I'm fine.
She sighed as she kept looking out the window into the dark.
Negan wasn't here. Rick said he fought him, and then he disappeared. Who the hell knows where he is now?
Maybe it's not a bad thing that he's gone into hiding. If he's hiding, it means he's scared.
He's not scared. He's regrouping. And I bet you anything he's got Eugene there with him, thinking through all the scenarios and helping him figure out how to beat us. Or, just hear me out, okay? He's keeping Eugene close because he's starting to sense that his loyalties aren't as strong as he thought.
Both Rosita and Talissa looked up at her.
How can you say that? Eugene is the one who helped them get out. They wouldn't have even been here tonight if it wasn't for Eugene. We'd still have Alexandria. I know. Okay, I'm starting to think it's not always that black and white.
What do you mean?
I've been thinking a lot about Dwight, about me, about all of it. Dwight wanted to be with us, but I couldn't let it go. And now he's back with Negan, and that's on me. I know how it feels to make the wrong choice, to be on the wrong side of things. I was. When the governor blew up that jail and killed Maggie's dad, Look, I know you two don't want to hear this, and believe me, I get why, but I still think in the end, Eugene is gonna figure his shit out and make the right choice. I believe in him.
And you're saying I didn't? I gave up everything for him. I would have walked in there on my own, consequences be damned, to save him. He's the one who chose not to believe in us, in me. He's the one who walked away.
I know.
Tara raised her hands to placate Talissa.
I know, okay, poor choice of words on my part. I'm not saying you didn't have faith in him, and I understand that you don't have the luxury of hope. I'm not blaming you for that. I'm just saying I do have hope that
He will find a way to redeem himself. I don't know what it looks like, but I have hope he'll figure it out one day.
Trust me, Tara. Nothing would make me happier for his sake.
Can't let yourself think that way. Believe me, I get it.
Suddenly, there was a scream from downstairs. They all jerked to attention and looked at the door as more and more screams began echoing up the stairs. Judith, who had awoken, began to cry, and Rosita went over and picked her up.
What the hell is happening?
Listen.
They all stopped to listen, and in between the screams of terror, there were the unmistakable snarls of the dead.
There's walkers in the house.
Talissa ran for the door. Rosita followed, but she spun and put a hand up.
You stay here and protect Judith. Nothing gets past this door, right?
Right.
Rosita held her gun up and aimed it at the door as Talissa closed it behind her. She ran to the stairs and looked down into chaos. The dead were mixed all throughout the living, who were running and screaming in panic. Rick and Daryl were going through and taking out the dead with their knives, while Maggie was ushering the living into her office.
Rick, what's going on?
We don't know yet. Stay up there and check the other rooms.
As he said it, she heard a crash to her left and ran over to find Carol in the room struggling with an undead Tobin. She quickly jumped in and put her knife in his skull, so he dropped to the floor.
Are you okay?
Carol was looking down at his body and nodded numbly.
He wasn't bit.
Rick and Daryl came charging up the stairs and into the room to look down at Tobin.
You all right?
Yeah, but he wasn't bit. He just got cut, but he turned.
Rick looked down at him and sighed.
Negan's bat, when I was out there, it was covered in walker blood. I thought he'd just crossed some, but maybe...
They have us working for them again, killing our own people.
That's what the fever is. It makes sense now.
One of the men from Hilltop was sitting in the bed staring at the body on the floor with his arm in a sling. He looked up at them all with tears in his eyes.
One of you is going to have to do it. I can't. Please.
Maggie walked over to him and wrapped her arms around him, hugging him tightly as he cried. Talissa saw her slip out a small blade and push it in quickly at the base of his skull. She laid him back gently and then walked out of the room. As she did, something clicked in Talissa's mind, and dread hit her once again like a freight train.
Tara!
She ran back for the room across the hall.
Hey, everything good out there?
Tara looked around at them all as they came back in the room.
House is clear.
How'd this happen?
Rick slowly closed the door and sighed as he turned back to them.
The Saviors did something to their weapons. Everyone they cut or shot, they all got sick. Some of them turned.
Tara sat down heavily on the bed.
Oh. Okay.
She nodded slightly as if she were trying to take it in.
When we were out there, and you said you were done waiting, I could have killed him.
Tara looked up at Daryl with a sad smile and put a hand gently on his arm.
No, Daryl. No, he wanted to be here with us. But no matter how hard I tried, I wanted him dead. I just couldn't let it be anything else.
She gave a slightly tearful smile.
Karma's a bitch, huh?
There was a loud knock on the door and Diane stuck her head in.
We need help outside. The prisoners got out.
Why is it always when it rains it fucking pours?
They all ran out of the room and down the stairs. When they got to the porch, Alden was there standing in front of them.
Hands up now!
Whoa, we're trying to help. A kid came and opened up the pen. We had people turn. A bunch of them left, but a bunch stayed too, and they're trying to close that gate. Maggie, look.
Talissa looked in the direction he was pointing and saw that he was telling the truth. At least a dozen of the prisoners were working together to try and push the dead back and get the gates closed again.
Maggie, he's telling the truth.
Diane?
We're on it.
Diane and several others ran down the hill to help them.
Where are the others?
They didn't say where they were going. They just ran.
And you didn't?
Alden gave a small shrug.
You saw what I mean to Negan and Simon, which, now that I think about it, might be a dumb thing to say, because it doesn't make us worth much to your people either. But those of us who stayed. We had plenty of chances to run, and we didn't.
Maggie gave him a long, hard look before she nodded slowly and walked back inside with the others following along behind. When I Fall is a work of fiction based on AMC's The Walking Dead. Any characters not created by the author are the property of said company. The story will continue in the next chapter.